idea that we can help people earlier in their careers connect the dots forwards in moments when they might be feeling a bit fed up or hopeless or stuck. And this was inspired in part by the quote by Steve Jobs, who said, "You can't connect the dots looking forwards, you can only connect them looking backwards, and you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect your future." I'm really pleased to be joined today by Zoe. Good morning, Zoe. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you so much for having me, Emily. It's great to be here.
Thanks for joining me. Zoe, how about you start by telling us a bit about what you're doing now and what you're working on?
So I'm currently a marketing advisor in the hospitality and travel tech industry. I wear many different hats. I'm a gain advisor. I work for a PR company called Belvera Partners, plus my own projects. So I'm quite busy, and I'm super looking forward to talking about how I've had a very non-linear career progression, because I think more people need to know about how that works.
Definitely. And I think so often when we hear career advice, it seems like it's coming from someone who always had a plan and everything worked out perfectly, because our brains are very good at looking back and making sense of things. But sometimes in the moment, it didn't really feel like that. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
It never feels like that. I mean, who does it like that?
Definitely not me. I actually always said I don't like to have a plan because it would restrict the opportunities that might come my way.
Yeah, a loose plan. It's always good.
Exactly. I've evolved now to having a loose plan so that I can work out which direction I'm going in at least. Nice. So could you tell me about a moment in your career when you felt like maybe it wasn't working out, or you'd made a mistake, or like things weren't very clear for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, I could tell several, but one particularly that I want to hone into is, so I had kids very young. I have 3 children. I had the first one when I was 25, the second one when I was 28, and the third one when I was 31. And that meant that I had quite a fragmented career before kind of the after, let's say, before I went back to work properly. I went to university, I went to Spain, and I had bits and bobs of my career, and then I had the kids, kind of dived into that. That was my choice. And then found myself, in my early 30s, not really able to get back into the workforce in kind of the way that I probably felt I should be at that time at 31 or 32. I had, my youngest son was 9 months old, and I needed to get back to work full time. And I was in a career process with 2 very distinct jobs. So one was working in a call center, very low paid, very easy, low stress, near my house, near my son's nursery. And the other one was this kind of what I call a stretch job. It was just like this social media strategist. I'd been a content editor. I hadn't done social media at that point. In a really cool company and lots more money and everything. So I was really between these 2 very, very different jobs. As it turned out, in the end, I got the call center job, and the other job went to somebody more qualified, which I'm really, in hindsight, I'm really, really happy about. I really feel that if I had got that very, very stressful job with 3 young children, one of them being 9 months old, I don't think I would have lost my mind, honestly.
Yeah.
So, I ended up in this call center job, which allowed me, I always think a job is not just the job. It's actually what it allows you to do maybe structurally in your life around that job. And you've got to consider that when you're working out your career. For me, like, my son was still nursing. His nursery was literally I could see it from my office, 5-minute walk. I could drop him. I could go there at lunchtime. I could pick him up after as well. The kids' school was nearby. It was a low stress job, so I was able to skill up in the evenings and the weekends. So I learned digital marketing. I learned social media, and I was also lucky enough to kind of be good at what I was doing. So I was allowed to run free on some of their social media platforms. And that's when I got into social, actually, and started to really love it. So I think, when obviously I got the news that would be the job that I would be doing, it was a disappointment. And I think a disappointment for my ego and my status. And, I should have this high powered strategy job, right? And I'm working in a call center, which is absolutely fine. All jobs are valid, but perhaps at that point in my career and my studies, I'd expected something more.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy it turned out how it did, honestly.
So glad to hear that. And in the moment, it sounds like maybe there was a little bit of comparisonitis of like, I should be here in my career at this age, at this point. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and how that felt?
Yeah, I think we all suffer from that. And I think underneath that is comparing yourself to others and worrying a lot about what other people think, which is something that we all must work on throughout our lives, whether it's in our careers or our personal lives or whatever it is. Just let that go progressively, because there's always going to be somebody who's doing better than you. There's always somebody who's going to be doing worse than you. And what you see is so surface level. Like what we see of each other on LinkedIn is not really the truth. It's also a social media platform. So, know that this is not a hot take of mine, but you should always be comparing yourself to your own situation, to your own past, and to your own needs in your life, not what other people are doing, really. Yeah,
totally agree. And it can come up even when you think you've worked on it. Like as a coach, I've obviously been coached lots and I've worked on it, but it still comes up for me. I was on a program. I was on a course last week for neuro-linguistic programming, and part of how that defines success is living as authentically to yourself as possible, not the money, not the job title, not the education or whatever else. And I thought I really loved that definition of success.
100%, because if you're, going back to my example, if you're in, if you're not ready for that role at that point, for whatever reason, like it will come along again later. It's fine. Like I was able to really like supercharge within like 10 years. My career changed, night and day. 10 years sounds a long time, but that's also, it takes a while with kids, with family. You don't have to feel that you've got everything sorted. Definitely not by your early 30s. No. So I think it's important to consider your own mental health and stability as well. If a job is going to take you so far out of your comfort zone that you're not going to be sleeping at night, you're going to be stressed with your kids or your family, or maybe you just put off even doing anything apart from your job, which I'm not a proponent of. We have to live. Our jobs are important, but our personal lives are also important. So try and have a job that allows you to have a actual life as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like we are 360-degree people, right? It's not just our job. It pays the bills and we all need to do that, but it's important to, have hobbies outside. People talk about work-life balance, and it doesn't just mean stopping work at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. It means that your life outside work can be rewarding and rich and varied as well. So I think that's really good.
Definitely. We're here as human people to expand our range of possibilities and experiences, and that means a bit of everything.
Yeah, nice. So with hindsight, with the benefit of 10 years of experience afterwards, what did that moment kind of teach you?
It taught me that everything's not just a label. It's not just a label. You've got to think about how it's focusing on a career, how it fits into your larger lifestyle. So think about that more than the status or the hierarchy or the traditional job ladder, which doesn't really exist anymore. Just, the other thing that I would say that I learned is that you can acquire skills from absolutely everything. So if you do find yourself in a job that's perhaps not exactly what you wanted, or maybe not the level you wanted, don't sleep on that opportunity and just think, oh, I'm just going to get through this for a year or 2 years. No, you can network, you can upskill, you can, volunteer for things at work that make it a bit more interesting. Like there's no job that you can't learn something from. So don't even let that pass you by. There's always things to learn everywhere.
Yeah, so true. And if you could go back to that moment, the moment where you felt a little bit of disappointment that maybe you should have got the other job and you didn't, and you weren't sure what was going to happen, what advice would you give to Zoe in that moment?
Oh, I'd say it's all going to work out in the end. Like there's so much more to come. Just chill, enjoy it. Enjoy your young kids, enjoy your job that doesn't take a lot of stress from your day, and you can sleep at night, because, we're not here for the next 2 hours on this, live, but we could talk about times in my career where that has been the case, and that's been very difficult. So like if you do have a job like that, just enjoy it,
Yeah. Nice. Make the most of the pros and the cons of the situation.
Definitely. Yeah.
I love that. Thanks so much, Zoe. Any other final words that you would have for anyone that's listening to this and recognises themselves in the situation that you've been in?
I'd say just don't worry so much about competing and pushing and striving. I think also there are times when you can and you should, I mean, take a stretch position. Again, maybe for another time. I have done that and I've got things to say on it. And there are times where you need to recognize that it's not the time to do that, because you can't infinitely push. You can't push when you're 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50 and up to retirement, because you will literally fall over on the ground. So there's times when I don't want to say coast, because I don't think I've ever coasted in my life, but there's times where you just hold back a little bit, and there's other times where you go full gas. The more you know yourself, the more you'll know when that is for each individual person. But if it's time to hold back and, somebody else is pushing over there, then that's their path. It's okay.
Yeah, nice. And I can't imagine you were coasting with 3 small kids. So it's more about, where's your energy going? What's your priority?
Yeah. It was a time.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining me, Zoe. And maybe we're going to have you back on a few more times to hear about all those other stories.
100%, whenever you want.
All right. Thank you. Have a